Oh, there it is.
We are like, yo, when I tell you we just talked for 15 minutes, did the intro, the whole night, man, gee whiz. I'll tell you what, Kyle. All right, it's Wednesday night, Spittin with Spitter. I'm TJ Spitter. Before we start the show, I want to shout out to my sponsors, Lehigh Vape. They're located at 822 Nazareth Pike. Go there for all your vaping essential needs. Wall to Wall Pest Control Services. If you go to the Facebook search box and type in Wall to Wall, it'll take you to Chuck Rockmore. Contact him for all your pest control service needs. Now to my guest. My goodness, I feel like, yo, we just had a great conversation.
Yeah, good 10, 15 minutes.
So again, we're gonna start at the beginning. I met you in 2009-ish.
Yeah.
So when I have people on my show, my life is based around recovery and excuse me, and people that fight that good fight. And you're one of those people. And that's why I asked you to come on my show so you could share your story. But before we start, let's tell them how we met.
Yeah, we met. Jackie was working at Applebee's, and so was my best friend. He ended up having a party at his house, and you guys came and got egged on. Well, I got egged on to do a rap battle with you. You were much better than me.
So, not to cut you off, that's my question. Who was egging you on?
I think it was one of those things where, a lot of it is just like my friends that had told me before when I'd freestyled that I was good. And I'm not sure if it was one of those things where if I was actually good or if it was, yeah, sometimes when your friends will tell you you're good just to, be nice and things like that.
Right.
But they're egging me on to do it, and I kind of wanted to do it too. And I was like, because I'm like, I was told how good you were and shit, and I thought that, now is my time. Got to prove myself somehow. And then you went first, and I was in way over my head. I quickly realized how in over my head I was. So,
do you know Ryan Osmosis?
Yeah, that's my friend Ryan. What's up, Brian?
Oh Lord to the rap battle.
Yeah.
Be clear, kids. I don't need a battery put in my back, and I rap for real.
Yeah. I was in one of your videos.
Yes, you were. Yeah. Yes, you were, my guy.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning of how your addiction started, and we'll walk through that.
I think it started when I was 13 or 14. I had surgery on my wrist to remove it. Was a cyst. That rhymes. I'm not trying to one up you here on the rhymes, but
we're not doing this again.
Yeah, but I had surgery on my wrist, and I got some oxycodone, and I realized, if I took 2 instead of the 1 that it said on the bottle, I felt really good. And I remember that whole week, every night I took 2 instead of 1. And ever since then, any pills I could get my hands on, I would do. It wasn't until I would say that I was probably like 17 and had a job and a source of income that I would go out and actually buy shit like that. I was doing pills before I even tried weed. I think I tried weed when I was 16 for the first time. So I was doing opiates before anything like that. And that led to, me doing a lot of pills. I think when I was like 19 or so, and I was probably 19 or 20 when I first tried heroin because it was so much cheaper. I was spending like $60 every time to get high. And I realized I could get high for $5 if I bought heroin instead. Which it seemed like a good financial decision. And it was for a little bit, but then it quickly spiraled out of control because needing $5 quickly becomes needing $10 and needing $20. And I think the last time before I finally got clean 6 years ago, I was doing $100 a day. So it quickly spirals out of control. But there was points where I got clean for a little bit. in about 2010, and my parents ended up getting divorced. To kind of threw me into a spiral from them kind of talking shit on each other, because I was an adult, and they kind of treated me like when they would talk to me about this stuff, kind of like an adult, but they would also say bad things about each other. And I couldn't deal with that or everything that was going on around me. I relapsed, and I think that's actually when I started injecting it as well. I had only like snorted it up to that point, heroin, and started injecting it, which led to me, I think in February of 2012, um, uh, my mom had moved out at that point. My dad was on vacation somewhere doing something. I had the house to myself, so of course what I did was, throw a house party. I remember, that was up until the point where I nearly died. It was a great day. I had gotten my tax return check. I went out, I got a new cell phone. I got a whole bunch of food and alcohol for the party. I got a bundle of heroin, and through this big house party, everybody had a great time. I had a great time. Right before I went to go to bed, I was like, you know what? I should like shoot up a little bit before I go to bed, and I did. And I remember waking up the next morning and I couldn't breathe, really. I couldn't breathe. And I went into the bathroom and I started coughing up blood into the sink of the bathroom. And at that point, I realized that like something wasn't right. And I was like, I need to call 911. But me being the person I am, I'm like, I need to get dressed before I call 911. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna get dragged out of the house, in my boxers or whatever. So I sat there for like, it seemed like forever, but it's probably about half an hour of like going in and out of consciousness, trying to get dressed before I was able to get downstairs and call 911. And then I was in a medically induced coma for a week because I had aspirated into my lungs. And one of them was completely collapsed. The other one was about 20%, I think they said. At one point they had like called in all my family to say their goodbyes because I wasn't really supposed to make it. And then after that, I woke up about a week later having a breathing tube being ripped out of my throat. It was like one of the most uncomfortable things. Aside from like having a catheter pulled out, but that's too much information. That was way worse. But then after that, I ended up getting into like an outpatient recovery place. I was in there I did that for about 3 months, I want to say, at the outpatient program at Huntington Medical Center. I was clean for about 3 years. And then I ended up getting into a relationship with someone that I didn't know was doing opiates at the time. And I had started, I was completely sober for, I want to say, 2 of those 3 years. And then I started like drinking and smoking weed again and stuff, which I don't blame that on, me relapsing. I more blame the lack of upkeep on my mental health more than anything, because they kind of go hand in hand. And I ended up getting offered some pills and ended up relapsing after 3 years. And then for the next year or so, everything just fell apart. I ended up being homeless, crashing on people's couches. And it got to a point where I was doing things I'm not proud of, things that I'm ashamed of, a lot of stealing and things like that. The point that it got to where I couldn't do it anymore is I ended up stealing a couple $100 from the person that was letting me stay with them while they were on vacation. And and I couldn't do it anymore. And I think I talked to my mom about it because she didn't have any idea I was using again. But I was like, I don't know what to do. And she ended up calling she called the methadone clinic in Phillipsburg and told me when I could go get in, and got into that. And over the next year of being in the program, year and a half, I tapered off of that and got completely off. And 6 years, well, it'll be 6 years in a couple weeks here, but 6 years later, here I am. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Only because, I know firsthand how hard it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I commend you for fighting the good fight. So when you say the mental health and addiction go hand in hand, like, can I ask you, what do you suffer from and when it comes to your mental health?
I have like chronic depression.
Okay.
And I also have a condition called borderline personality disorder.
Right.
Um, Now, there's a bit of a nasty stigma surrounding it. I will say, I don't really fit the criteria anymore. Although a lot of my mental processes work the same, and it took years and years and years of therapy to even get to a point where it's manageable, and I can,
Right.
turn that stuff off. But, addiction was an escape. That's what it was. Part of it was self-destructive, feeling like I needed to. Like I knew I was hurting myself doing that stuff, but part of me felt like I needed to um, put myself through that. Like I deserved to feel that pain because I thought I was a bad person. I hated myself. Um, I was. It's tough.
And again, I hate to use the cliche that I've been there and I can relate, but I have,
Yeah.
and I'm so proud of where you're at today.
Thank you.
Because I know how it's not easy.
Yeah. I mean, I like some of the praise. I liked being like I'm proud of myself for doing it, but at the same time, I don't always feel like I deserve it.
Right.
I would feel like I would deserve more praise if I never did heroin in the first place. So like I'm not proud of my clean time, but I am thankful for it.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm same way. I'm very grateful for my clean time, but I don't feel I deserve to be patted on the back for something that I should be doing.
yeah. Because like, what about all the people that never get into drugs, or
Yeah.
it's a vice just like any other. So, but and my life is a million times better.
So
Being
what do
clean.
you
So
what do you do with yourself to stay out of that addictive headspace, if you would?
well, a lot of it for me is intrusive thoughts. Because you know how whether it's that piece of pie that's sitting in the fridge, or whether it's a drug, you'll be sitting doing something and your brain's going like, go get that, you want that, go get that, you'll feel better if you get it, just go get it. And like your brain's saying that over and over. And there's for me, it's recognizing those patterns and catching it before there's an action to it. Not I'm not the kind of person that would like act on it immediately, but if I think about it over and over and over again, it can drive you to the point where you're like, okay, I'm just going to go do it.
Right.
Or a big thing that I would always do is bargain with myself. It's just like, well, I'm doing heroin again today, even though I said I wouldn't, but at least I'm going to work, or I'm doing this, but at least it's not that, or just little bargains. And for me, a lot of it is taking a second, taking a step back and really analyzing those thoughts and thinking about them from not just in the moment, currently feeling them as they come. Because I feel like if you take things slower, don't get overwhelmed by those feelings, don't let them overwhelm you. You can have control of your mental health or control of addiction urges and things like that. But it takes time and a lot of discipline, I guess. And it's not easy.
It does. Like I still struggle to this day with some of my intrusive thoughts, because the way my thoughts work is it's so reality.
Mm-hmm.
These terrible thoughts are so reality, and it's like I can't stop it and I can't shut it off. So like,
and I feel like they're not always the truth.
Right. No,
like someone doesn't message
not.
you back in like a couple hours, you're just like, oh my god, they hate me, they don't
What
want to
I
talk
do-
to me again, this is the word. And then like I have to be like, no, they're working, they're busy, why are you being crazy right now? Not crazy, but why are you overreacting or feeling like this about this right now?
Right. I'm the same exact. I don't want to say it's a breath of fresh air to know somebody exactly like me, but like it kind of is.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people have those thoughts. It's just they might not always realize them.
Matthew Jones commented, good for you guys to have courage to talk about it.
Yeah.
We appreciate that, Matt.
Yeah.
And
I
Alan,
know.
good evening, gentlemen. Appreciate you both for the conversation. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. I don't know. I would rather talk about it and rather be open and transparent about everything, because for a lot of my life, I haven't been about things, I've hidden my addictions. I've, done things like that. So it's like, I'm at a point where I would rather be, my dad always said, be a man of honor and integrity. And
Absolutely.
I try to do that in every aspect of my life because for so long I wasn't, lying and stealing and doing a lot of things I really regret and hurting a lot of people I loved because of addiction. And if it's a cycle, where like you use and then you use because you feel like shit, but then you feel like shit because you used, so you continue to, it's a cycle.
That insanity cycle is crazy.
Yeah, and it got to a certain point where I was like I said, I stole from someone I care about a lot, a couple $100 or more, and I remember feeling so terrible about it. Like if I'm stealing from a retail store to get my fix or whatever, I had some moral hangups about that, and it was really shitty, but I could sleep at night, But after stealing from someone who loved me, who support me, who was letting me sleep on their couch while I was homeless, someone who is giving me all these things and unconditional love, how could I do that to them, And that's what really got me, So
Chuck just and shout outs to Chuck. Much love to you. He says, I could be wrong, but sometimes you have to watch the overthinking. It can send you somewhere else too. I'm very mindful of my thought patterns, because once I start fixating on something, especially when it's not healthy for me mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, I know what place that'll take me to.
Yeah.
And
I
and
agree.
today, and this isn't a braggadocious, I have 12 years clean. It's a 12 years. I don't think I'm going to necessarily pick up a drug, but what I'll do is I'll isolate myself. I'll overeat. I won't go to the gym. I'll make every excuse to have this little pity party in my head, which isn't reality.
Yeah. And it can be tough too, because when you're in that state of mind, and like you said, even when it's not using, when you're doing things like that, like I'll be completely honest with you, this side of my desk that you can't see is a mess. The past 3 weeks have been incredibly rough. I've, put off certain responsibilities, and I know that like if I don't get it done this week, it can snowball and turn into a bigger problem that seems a lot bigger and insurmountable than something small every single day,
I do it all the time.
Yeah. And I think it's easy to get caught up in that. And like I said earlier, like just taking a step back, I think is the biggest thing. Like removing yourself from that moment, because you can get overwhelmed and like Chuck said, overthinking, and you can get so overwhelmed by those thoughts and feelings that you don't take a deep breath, take a step back, and really think about the what's actually going on, because you're so overwhelmed.
Before I got clean, I didn't really have these tools that I have now, and I would overthink myself into panic attacks. To like, I'm not like, I can't even leave my car. I'm rocking back and forth. Jackie's on the phone with me trying to talk me off the ledge, and it's some imaginary problem that hasn't even surfaced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a reality.
Yeah. Like I like to call them intrusive thoughts, and that's what they are. A lot of the times they're not based in reality, and therapy has been the biggest tool for me, and learning how my mind works and learning why I think certain ways, and being able to see, I know there's a weird thing about the word now, but being able to see triggers and things like that, or being able to catch patterns, and paying attention to your brain, I think is the biggest thing, and learning tools to help cope with that.
I'm really hyper aware of what affects my peace.
Yep.
So if you affect my peace on that level, I just unfortunately I can't be around you.
Yeah, you have to. It can seem selfish sometimes,
Yeah.
to be like, I have to cut this person out of my life, or I have to do this thing that I know will probably not affect other people as well. But at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. If it's going to jeopardize your mental health or your sobriety or anything like that, whether it's cutting out a toxic person or getting a new job, whatever it is, I think it's your mental health should be most people's number one priority.
I subscribe to self-care too.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's just you taking a day once a week, I'll take a day for myself where I don't do anything. Like normally I
Yeah,
go until I just burn out.
yeah,
But I'll take a day for myself. So it's October, right? So I dive
mm,
into Halloween movies
yeah.
and
Spooky
horror
season.
movies. Spooky season is upon us. It's my favorite time of the year.
Yeah,
And I dive into once a week. I'll just sit in front of the TV, watch old B-rated horror movies, and enjoy the company of my own peace because I used to
yeah,
not be able to do that.
yeah, yeah. I know for sure. Until I moved to the apartment that I'm currently in a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
um, I couldn't be alone at all. Like
Right.
I learned honestly probably one of the healthiest things I learned how to do is how to be alone with my own thoughts, how to manage that. Because before that, it was I had to be hanging out with somebody, I had to be doing this, I had to be doing that. But there's a lot of things I had to start cutting out of my life when I really got clean. Like I couldn't really go out anymore to like bars or clubs, even if I wasn't drinking or anything, being around that atmosphere is too tempting, you know?
We have
Um,
a question coming in from Joe. Shout out to my brother Joe. Do y'all do therapy and meds since getting clean? You can answer that first.
I was on meds when I was younger. I
Mhm.
think from age of like 17 to 20 or so, I was on antidepressants, and I've been in multiple outpatient therapy programs, done a lot of different meetings, been to a lot of different therapists, psychologists, things like that over the years. I haven't recently, I'd say in the past 3 years or so, I haven't really been to any therapy sessions or meetings or anything like that. Although it is something I have been looking into getting back into, because struggling with uh, grief and stuff with losing my mom recently, I've looked into that sort of thing,
Right.
which I think there's a time when you have to. I don't think it's less manly or less strong to admit you need help. Um,
No, it's not.
if your mental health, you can be good for years and then something can happen, and if you feel yourself faltering or feel yourself not being able to have as much control as you used to of your emotions and mental health, going to signing back up for therapy, as tough as it is, I think is a brave thing to do. And um, I've been thinking about getting into something like that, um, not that I feel like I necessarily like need it right now, but I feel like it'd be good for me, you know?
It's always good to have a safety net.
Yeah, and good to have someone to just talk to without judging you.
Right.
Someone that can challenge your own thoughts. Someone that can maybe point out things that you don't see, connect dots that you don't connect. Like if you're like, oh, well, I feel like using or I feel depressed every time this one thing happens, or every time you're in a certain environment, you might not realize that, and a therapist can help you work through it. They can give you a lot of tools, and I think those are the greatest tools to have.
Absolutely. I before I got clean, I was seeing the therapist and they had me on meds, and if I'm being honest, I abused the meds before I got clean. Not even that they were necessarily getting me high or anything like that, but like I didn't have a shut off valve. And
Mhm.
so now today, me personally, this is just me personally, I don't take any meds for the fear of that I may abuse them,
Yeah.
but I have a great support network of. In my support network, I have 2 doctors, 2 therapists, you know, that I call my brothers that I talk to all the time. I have a sponsor that I talk to all the time, but like I said, that's just for me. But I implore anybody that thinks that they should see a therapist to go do so.
Yeah.
It can't hurt.
There's no shame in it. There's no, like, it's 2021. Come on.
Right,
Like,
for sure.
your mental health is important. This isn't the 50s. You're not less of a person. You're not
Yeah.
weak. You're none of those things. And a lot of people still feel that way, you know. For me, a controversial opinion I have is, for me, methadone helped me get clean.
Right.
Now, there's a bit of a stigma around it, where people think that you're just trading one addiction for another. And there are definitely, from my time when I was like, had to go to the clinic every morning to get my dose or whatever, like, there's people that abuse it. There's people that are on like
Sure.
triple the amount I was, but I think if you use it as a tool, and see it as a means to an end, you have to go into it knowing it's a means to an end. That I'm going to start this. Once I get stable, I'm going to get off of it. And for me, the experience of getting on it, it was a little rough at first, especially like feeling restless at home because you don't feel high or anything like that. And then I tapered off of it, and it was honestly painless. Some people talk about how horrible the withdrawals are from it and stuff like that. I was going down like 1 milligram a week, like super slow, and I felt it was the easiest transition. And not that I would ever want to do it again, but if I had to do it again, that's the way I would do it,
Yeah. And I get asked that a lot too, because like of my position that I'm in the recovery world that I live in. And I always say that, like, whatever you use to help you get clean, I understand.
Yeah.
Everything isn't for everybody. But if it's successful for you, do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people can't can't be on a methadone program because they're just going to abuse it,
Right.
Things like that. So everyone's different. You have to find out what works for you. Some people in the recovery community that I've met are set in, this is the guideline. You have to follow this step by step. This is the only way it works. And if you think about like, pair of pants, you can't just give every single person the same pair of pants and expect them to fit, Like, no, be like, here, you give me a pair of 32s. It's not working.
Fucking your skinny jeans up.
Yeah. So like everyone's just like clothing fits different on everyone. Treatment and recovery are different for everyone,
Absolutely.
And I think as long as you're healthy and safe, that's what I think is most important.
Now, Joe asked, sleeping patterns. Do you all have trouble sleeping? Do you all have trouble to the extent to where you need sleep meds?
In the beginning, maybe, yeah. Definitely a lot of restlessness. Now, not so much. No. I feel like doing a physical job and working every day, I definitely, it helps that I'm overweight and, get tired quick. But like, in the beginning, they can be helpful if they're not abused, I think,
I've never been a great sleeper. I sleep for like 4 hours at a clip. I'll wake up, I'll fall back to sleep for an hour or two. I do take melatonin. It's a vitamin, and that doesn't even help most of the time. So I hope that answered your question, Joe.
Yeah. I feel like with medicines that could potentially be abused, even though melatonin really can't, like some other sleep medications, I always unfortunately I don't have the luxury anymore, but like having them in the hands of a safe person, like someone that they can give you one when you go to sleep, is always a good thing. But it can be tough with like over-the-counter stuff like that. I know I try not to rely on medications if I don't have to. Like I take the occasional leave for my back, and that's about it.
Yeah, if ibuprofen, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I need, like, if I have any inkling that I'll abuse it, I stay away from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I haven't.
That's just me. It's not. Again,
I worry. I do worry though that in the future, like, what if I get hurt or like have to have a surgery. Like it's gonna be tough to. I wouldn't trust myself if the doctors are
So
like here. Like
I was clean for like 6 or 7 years. I forget the exact amount of time, and I had to have knee surgery.
mhm.
And it was the most excruciating thing I've ever dealt with. And I only got prescribed strong ibuprofen.
Yeah,
And even them, Jackie held for me and gave to me as needed, because even if there's no narcotic in it, if I think it's going to take the pain away and
yeah,
it's going to make me feel good,
yeah,
I'll take all of them, you
yeah. I
know?
worry about that sort of thing if when that day comes, but um, you know, I've been through some of the worst emotional pain with some physical pain.
Right, exactly.
Like, so that's the way I see it. I'll climb that mountain when I get there. At this point, because there's no use fretting over it now.
My brother, much love to you. Thank you for coming
Mhm.
on here, being so
Of
honest
course,
and open.
yeah, anytime.
You have a show as well.
I do. Yeah, it's a comedy show.
Let's get
It's a lot funnier than this because I don't have to be so serious and you know. um, but yeah, on Twitch TV / Kyle Kopp, which is my name. That's down there.
right there.
And every Friday night, about 9 p.m. Eastern time, we go live. Show starts anywhere from 9 to 9:30, depending on the day. But it's pretty funny. So, do different
I'm
segments and
definitely
bits, and I
I'm
dress up with
definitely
different
gonna
characters.
subscribe and tune in. I cannot wait.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of back catalog on there to watch. All different segments and videos and things like that. There's different clips of funny parts. You don't have to watch the whole 3-hour show. There's little clips there if you just want to see the funniest bits. So
That's fire.
yeah.
Now, before you go, is there anything you want to ask me? Because like whenever I have guests on, it seems like I'm always asking the questions, and I don't want to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, is
Yeah.
there anything you want to ask me before you go?
What for you was the rock bottom that you got clean? That like what was the thing that you're like, okay, I need to get fucking clean?
You know, I had throughout my entire life, I always had like when I realized I was a drug addict, I always had reservations. Anything happens to my mom, whatever, my sister, my brother, whatever, I'm gonna go use drugs. So it was August. We decided to, me and Jackie decided to go to a concert. It was for her birthday. I couldn't find my drug of choice before we left. So I stopped at a drugstore and got a bottle of sleeping pills. This is why I don't do the sleeping pills.
Yeah.
And ended up drinking on them sleeping pills. And Jackie, who is now my wife, said that, I don't know how I got home. And I drove. I don't remember how I got home. I don't remember getting into the bed. I remember the next day her saying, I can't do this anymore, and I can't watch you almost die in your sleep, and have 9-1 dialed already and just watching you breathe.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of moments that up to that point, like for a long time, like I called it like self-medicating, like because there was a point where I wasn't even really getting high anymore.
Yeah.
And I was just getting high to not be sick.
Yeah,
But
just
that was
maintaining.
just maintaining. And that was it, man. Like the pain that I caused her,
Yeah.
and I've caused a whole wreckage shitstorm of pain through everybody that's ever been in my life. I'm sure I've hurt you one way or another, and I hope that in the last 12 years that I've made amends and have done some justice to those terrible things that I've done. But like the hurt that I caused her,
Yeah.
and she's like, that you always go through life and people say there's that one love of your life, and for me that's her.
Yeah. And
And
I know what you mean. Because like I said, that's for me was causing pain to my best friend Cyrus, who was letting me stay with him. The fact that I hurt him like that's what got
Right.
me. So
And it was August 22nd, 2009, and I couldn't do it anymore. And back then, beds weren't as accessible, detoxes weren't as accessible. I locked myself in my bedroom, and I told Jackie and my mother, who was still alive at the time, like, listen, I'm going to be an asshole probably for the next 7 to 10 business days.
yeah.
And I withdrew and I kicked in my house,
Oh
which was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
yeah.
I keep that right in the forefront of all my thoughts of how bad that was.
Yeah. I've only done that once, but I did it with the help of Imodium. Because if you didn't know, Imodium satisfies the opiate receptors, not to the same length, but you could pop like 15 Imodium and you don't feel as bad. You still feel terrible. But even
Right.
then, I couldn't imagine doing it cold turkey.
It was horrifying. I
Yeah.
don't wish that on anybody. I do not suggest to anybody. There's so many different ways and methods out there today
Yeah.
that I don't suggest that on
So
anybody.
much amazing help and stuff like that too, especially now where it's such a widespread problem, and it's not you're not treated like a junkie anymore.
Right.
At a lot of these places, you're just treated like a person with a mental illness, which I think that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Addiction being a mental illness, because back in the day, say like back when you got clean, like a lot of those places were seen as like that's where the bad people go, scum of the earth, to like go get help or treatment or anything like that. But thankfully, by the time I went 6 years ago, it was a little better. But now it's even better than that.
There's so many, like, back then there were in all of Warren County, Hunterdon County, there were like 2 places.
Yep.
And now they're all over.
Yeah.
And that's just a testament to how we're fighting this fight,
Yep.
That makes me happy how much is available to the addict that still suffers.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Is there anything else, my brother?
No, just thanks for having me and giving me a platform to share my story. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on, man, to the utmost. I'm going to bring you on again down the road once I get this Twitch thing figured out.
Yeah, let me know if you need help. Hit me up.
I want to thank Kyle Kopp for coming on and sharing his story. I appreciate you, my brother. This has been another episode of Spittin with Spitter. You can catch the replay. You can go to 2M1L Media, click like, subscribe, share. If you know somebody that's struggling, reach out to me or Kyle myself to see if we can facilitate some help.
More than happy to help. So,
Kyle, I appreciate you, my guy. Thanks again for coming on. I hope y'all have a great night out there. We're out of here.